Capcom presents Marvel Comics. Yeah, there is no intro, so let's just get right into it. As soon as the loading screen's done loading. As soon as the profile is confirmed. And then more loading. And then it processes the network initialization. There's a lot of build up for this game. That is Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. Receiving the treatment that this game unfortunately deserves. So I said at the end of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that this was the right game at the wrong time. Boy, that is just the truest true statement. A lot of the appeal of Marvel vs. Capcom is in its characters. Despite what people at Capcom will tell you. It's cool that you get to use all these great Marvel superheroes, all these great X-Men, and you get to cross them together with Capcom characters. But when you look at the Marvel side of the roster, what do you notice that's missing? There's no Wolverine, there's no Storm, and there's no Magneto. There's no X-Men of any kind. At the time this game was in development, Marvel and Fox and Disney were deadlocked over the rights to utilize the X-Men characters. So for years, Marvel Comics were basically sabotaging the X-Men, kind of salting the earth so that nobody could really use them. But that's okay. We've got Morrigan.
Morrigan!
You have great taste.
I certainly do, because we're going to be teaming her with Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider!
Let's go. I smell a sinner.
It's the worst voice. I don't care. It's not Richard Grieco. So, gems are different this time around. They're not in Marvel's superheroes where you just sort of collect them and use them. You get to pick one, and that's yours for the match. They can do specific things, and we'll get into that when we can.
Only one team will be left standing.
While this game is a unique universe that they manifested for the sake of... Okay, so the MCU happened, so this game had no choice but to kind of convert that and make its own unique universe. And that's great, and that's cool. But the story mode is so lackluster, it hardly does anything with it.
Oh my, what a tasty looking treat.
I won't back down, no matter who shows up.
Who will come out on top? Ready.
Buttons.
Fight.
Once again, it is a 4-button fighter. Like Marvel vs. Capcom 1, we are back to punches and kicks. The reason I'm picking Morrigan is because she has some incredibly un-Morrigan moves. Like this spike that I can actually hold in mid-air. The light version always goes to a set path, but if you hold the heavy version, it travels a certain way.
Can you dodge this?
Wonderful.
I'm here. Promise this will be painless.
You're a bad one.
I'll win this now!
So she has her Dark Force, which she sends out another version of herself. It doubles up.
Can you dodge this.
Alright, let's tag. This game has an active switch.
You dare me? Show me your spirit.
Which means you can actively tag in characters at any point where you are able to.
Face me. Vengeance awaits forgiveness.
I did mean any point.
Let's play again sometime.
The active switch is what gave this game its signature. Here is a game called Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where comboing just kind of felt automatic, artificial. And here's Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite to come in and give you a lot more creative freedom in how you use your characters. You can stone select before every match. I haven't really been using them, mostly because I've been building the basic systems of this game. Because whatever love is left at this point in 2021 for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite lies in its gameplay. Because it's not in its roster selection, it's not in its story, and it's certainly not in the graphics.
I want you, body and soul.
Steal my soul? Don't do that! That kind of mumbo-jumbo thing creeps me out!
Who will come out on
Some of
top?
these
Ready.
character models were dragged kicking and screaming from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, a game done on a completely different engine.
Good.
There's MODOK. No time for him to be in this game. As a playable character, at least. Morrigan's still pretty fun anyway. Not the character I normally use, but I didn't want to use Nemesis twice in a row. Plus, I wanted to use Morrigan at least some point, because she's in every other one of these Marvel vs. Capcom games. When it's actually Marvel vs. Capcom, she's been in every one. A position she seems relegated to stick to. So what's really throwing me off is that every launcher, by default, after you do so, you automatically chase the opponent.
Can you dodge this?
So, Infinity Storms are a thing. There's a meter on the bottom left. When that fills up to either half or full, you can activate the full power of the gem.
Can you dodge
We
this?
have never needed to do this,
Combo KO.
at least so far.
Yes.
Let's play again sometime.
Admittedly, Morrigan's English voice took a bit of getting used to, but she is technically Scottish, so the accent fits. So, the Monster Hunter was thrown in, which is, I would say, a fair addition, considering this particular franchise blew up. It has become Capcom's new trademark. They've put out so many games at this point, and it's so successful. As a fan of things like Street Fighter and Mega Man, it's incredibly hard to be jealous of the success of Monster Hunter, because then they get pulled into other games.
Oh my, what a tasty looking treat.
Allegedly.
How come I never meet any nice girls?
Who will come out on top?
This is one of the coolest
Ready.
stages. So, a lot of the stages in this game are actually sort of merges of Capcom and Marvel universes. So here we have Volcanda. So, another thing worth getting used to. Dragon Punch motions are a thing of the past.
Can you dodge this? You're a bad one.
Ooh, that was not a good thing to do. So that spike, it's a knockdown.
Can you dodge this?
Morrigan getting work done. Not intended in that particular context. Like, I've never gotten used to Morrigan in the Marvel vs. Capcom games. I'll gladly play her in Darkstalkers, but for some reason, with this one, it's just never worked out.
Combo KO.
Let's play again sometime.
And I'm familiar with how great she is in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but that greatness wasn't discovered until slightly after Ultimate's release. In the original Marvel 3, she just kind of lied dormant. Like, she's expected, but
Believe.
don't think
Fight.
much of her.
Try.
A Power Stone in a Capcom game. How weird is that? These are the types of
Let's
things
forget
you
about
contemplate.
vengeance and burn ourselves with passion.
Bring it on!
These are the types of things you contemplate when Marvel vs. Capcom
Who
Infinite's
will come
on the
out
line.
on top? Ready.
And yeah, the iconography is there. I am looking at a big fat Avengers logo. We're hanging out at Avengers Tower fighting it up. I don't respect the pipe anymore, Haggard.
Come on.
Can you dodge this?
That's so neat. Like, Morrigan can just get a second Shadow Blade in her air combo. And you hit them high enough that there's so much stun that you can go straight into air super summon. A lot of the soul of Marvel vs. Capcom just isn't here. And it's no more apparent than the character themes of the Marvel cast. Can you not tell this is Thor's theme?
Can you dodge this?
I say thee nay!
Can you not tell?
Can you dodge this?
Okay, Ghost Rider. You've kind of been relaxing.
You dare touch me! You dare touch me! Show me your sin! Bloody blaze rise again! I scorch your soul!
Combo KO.
As cool as you are to play in this game, I apologize we haven't shown much of him.
You have challenged my Hellspawn power and lost.
And he's one of the last people I was expecting to see in a... I am air quoting when I say this. Sequel to Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He's a lot more simplified since he doesn't have to worry about
Only
Dragon
one
Punch
team will be
motions,
left standing.
which for some reason Eat Chain was on a Dragon Punch motion in Marvel 3. Alright. Yes, don't worry, we'll eventually eventually need to take advantage of the Infinity Stones. I know. They're supposed to be Infinity Gems, but MCU happened. They're Infinity Stones
getting
now.
to the good part.
You are not fit to face me.
Hi,
Who will
Dormammu.
come out on top? Ready. Fight.
Dormammu was halfway decent in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He needed a team around him, but when he had that team, he was a threat and a half. In Marvel Infinite, he's given such fantastical tools that he can be the entire team.
Can you dodge this?
Floating bomb. Run. Manipulate space. Reverse dimensional rip inferno.
Dormammu has Space Stones, so he can gradually pull someone towards them.
Dormammu. Level 1.
Bloody blaze rise again.
Good.
Choke it! Beautiful, aren't I? Nice. Can you dodge this? Solve it! I'll take it! Soul Slider!
You dare with me?
Black Panther I'm not familiar with. I never even touched him
You dare touch me?
in this game, even though he was added later as a DLC character. And yes, this game did get DLC characters. Alright. So this game did have auto combos.
Bloody blaze rise again.
Feels weird to say in a Marvel vs. Capcom world, but Marvel 1 did have an auto mode where supers were just 2 buttons pushed together.
Yes.
It feels really weird here.
My hellspawn power and lost.
Actually got an achievement for that? What the hell? Oh, hyper combos. I turned notifications off for the sake of this, but not on my desktop.
Battle without
So that's probably gonna
limits.
come through. Alright, now we're gonna start using them. We're gonna use my preferred stone of choice, the Time Stone.
Let's forget about vengeance and burn ourselves with passion.
Fools, our will is law. We
So
will destroy
this
you.
is
Who
Ultron
will come out
Sigma.
on top? Ready.
Ultron with a little bit of that Sigma virus thrown in. So Time Stone is a free air dash. It's a free dash in general. Alright, buddy. We're ready.
I am Judge, Jury, and Executioner.
Try to be ready. With the Time Stone, you don't have to worry about canceling of any kind. I can just do this.
Be my better half.
Can you dodge this?
Wonderful.
Now you'll see. Face our overwhelming power.
I know, you're trying, and I appreciate it.
Can't escape.
Okay.
Let the nightmare begin.
I'm here. Yeah, you're not going quietly. I understand. I understand.
Yes.
I get it and I understand.
Imbecile, we are invincible.
So I'm supposed to be able to chain this man to know tomorrow, but he is not a very good
I
actor.
want you.
Seems to be deviating from the script a little bit. All right.
Ready. Fight.
All right, I see how it is. You want to show off how cool you are.
Funny plays rise again. Judgment is upon you. Transport your soul.
On the other hand, I have a bike that doesn't care about what you do to it.
I still can. Face me. Vengeance what you have.
Ooh.
So fascinating! Get a bad one.
Oh, yeah, my dark force persists through the time storm.
Let's play again sometime.
But if you thought that was the end of arcade mode,
Only
really,
one
who are you
team will be
fooling?
left standing.
Say hello to Ultron Omega. A relatively unique final boss. Much like Galactus in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, he's kind of a stationary body. And much like Galactus in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, he's not just gonna be your punching bag.
Don't let me scare you.
Do you think you can defeat us?
Ready. Fight.
Rip you to shreds.
The idea is to sort of aim for the head if you can. Thanos rules. But it does more damage,
We'll crush you.
and there's a little other thing it does.
Burn to death.
But that's gonna have to wait.
Funny plays rise again.
Can you dodge this?
When he puts his arms up, wail on him to your heart's content. If he breaks, you basically get a free attack.
Can you dodge this?
When he's at about half health, he will summon a couple of his minions your way. You can get cornered, but it's not as problematic as Galactus' minions. Just keep wailing away.
Reality knows. Contemptuous fool. He will erase you. Funny plays rise
Can you dodge this?
Oh, that's a lot of damage. Good stuff. Yeah, he's pissed.
We've calculated a million ways to destroy you.
He occasionally gets a cool attack or two, but nothing that I would call threatening.
Bloody blaze rise again.
Can you dodge this?
And compared to Galactus, he's even more pathetic.
Congratulations!
But that is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Arcade mode. The game that was. There's not much else to say. This is more like Marvel vs. Capcom Infamous. Because this game went from the beloved son, the unthinkable return of the franchise, to one of the most reviled sequels in Capcom's fighting game history. And considering their fighting game history, that is saying a lot. But that does it for our trip through Marvel fighting games. Some of them good, but the mostly some of them department was occupied by Capcom, no surprise. It was nice playing some stuff I had never really scoped or even properly heard of. But for it to kind of end on a downer like this is just a sigh of acceptance. It's gonna be as flat as this video's ending's gonna be.